Venezuela, a name once linked with promise, prosperity, and oil wealth. A country sitting on the world's largest proven oil reserves, more than Saudi Arabia and Iran combined. For much of the 20th century, it was one of Latin America's richest nations. But today, Venezuela is known for something very different: hunger, mass migration, authoritarian rule, and economic collapse. The question is, how did a country blessed with so much lose almost everything? 130, the birth of an oil giant. Before oil, Venezuela was largely rural, surviving on coffee and cocoa exports. That changed in the 1920s when foreign companies struck oil in the Maracaibo Basin. Almost overnight, Venezuela became the largest oil exporter in the region. By the 1950s, its booming economy earned it the nickname the Saudi Arabia of South America. Caracas transformed: shiny skyscrapers, highways, American cars, modern malls. People from Europe migrated there, believing Venezuela was the land of opportunity. But from the very start, the economy leaned almost entirely on oil. No diversification, no backup plan, just petroleum dollars fueling growth. 3 o'clock, the curse of oil dependence. This dependency came at a cost. When oil prices soared, Venezuela looked like a miracle. But when prices crashed, the country plunged into debt and instability. The 1980s and 1990s saw repeated cycles of boom and bust. Corruption grew, inequality widened, and frustration spread. In 1989, anger exploded in riots known as El Caracazo. The army opened fire on protesters, hundreds were killed. These events scarred Venezuelans, planting the seeds of a political revolution. Enter Hugo Chávez, a charismatic military officer who once led a failed coup. In 1998, amid economic despair, he won the presidency by promising justice for the poor. Chávez launched what he called the Bolivarian Revolution. Billions of oil dollars funded massive welfare programs: cheap food, free healthcare, housing for the poor, and education for all. For a time, it worked. Poverty fell dramatically. Illiteracy nearly vanished. Chávez became a hero to millions, not only in Venezuela but across the global south. There was another side to Chávez. He concentrated power in his hands, rewrote the constitution, weakened the courts, silenced critics. When oil workers went on strike, he fired thousands, replacing experienced engineers with loyalists. Oil production started falling. Refineries broke down. Instead of reinvesting, Chávez borrowed and spent more. Rather than saving wealth for the future, as Norway did, Venezuela lived paycheck to paycheck. Still, high oil prices through the 2000s masked the problems. As long as money flowed, Chávez looked untouchable. 8 o'clock, transition to Maduro. In 2013, Chávez died of cancer, leaving Nicolás Maduro, his chosen successor, in charge. But Maduro lacked Chávez's charisma, and by 2014, Venezuela faced disaster. Global oil prices collapsed, falling from over $100 a barrel to below $30. Venezuela's lifeline was cut off. The government printed more money to fill the gap, triggering one of the worst cases of hyperinflation in modern history. 930, hyperinflation and economic freefall. Prices doubled every few weeks. At its peak, inflation hit over 1,000,000%. A cup of coffee could cost millions of bolivars. Money lost its meaning. People carried backpacks full of cash just to buy groceries. Shops stopped counting bills. They weighed them instead. Between 2013 and 2021, Venezuela's economy shrank by nearly 80%. Hospitals collapsed. Blackouts spread. Food and medicine disappeared. Children went hungry. The UN called it one of the world's worst peacetime humanitarian crises. 11 o'clock, mass exodus. As daily life crumbled, Venezuelans fled in huge numbers. By 2023, more than 7 million people had left. Nearly a quarter of the population. They walked across borders into Colombia, Brazil, Peru, and beyond. Entire families left behind homes, jobs, even relatives, seeking survival. The Venezuelan migration crisis became the largest in modern Latin American history, surpassing even Syria in scale. 1230, Maduro's grip on power. Despite collapse, Maduro clung to power. Elections were widely condemned as fraudulent. Protests met with bullets. Opposition leaders jailed. Independent media crushed. Maduro blamed U.S. sanctions for Venezuela's problems. It's true, sanctions deepened the pain, cutting off access to global markets. But the roots of the collapse were already planted. Decades of corruption, mismanagement, and dependence on oil. 1400 hours. The geopolitical game. Cut off from the West, Venezuela turned to Russia, China, and Iran. In exchange for loans and support, it gave away oil deals and assets. But these alliances came with strings attached, leaving Venezuela even more vulnerable. Meanwhile, the U.S. maintained maximum pressure policies, hoping sanctions would force Maduro out. Instead, they hardened the regime and pushed ordinary Venezuelans deeper into suffering. 1530 dollarization, a strange solution. With the bolivar worthless, Venezuelans turned to the U.S. dollar. Shops now list prices in dollars. For the middle class, this brought a small sense of stability. But for the poor, still earning wages in bolivars, it meant survival became almost impossible. 1630, life today in Venezuela. Today, in 2025, Venezuela is caught between collapse and survival. The economy is no longer in freefall, but true recovery is far away. Teachers, doctors, and civil servants often earn less than $20 a month. Millions remain in exile, while those at home live with shortages, blackouts, and broken infrastructure. Yet, despite everything, Venezuelans continue to adapt, finding ways to survive, to resist, and to hope. 1800 hours. The future, collapse, or renewal. Can Venezuela rise again? Some say yes, if oil prices remain high, if corruption is reduced, and if political reforms come. Others argue the damage is too deep, and rebuilding could take decades. But one thing is clear. Venezuela's tragedy is not just about oil or politics. It is about choices. Choices made by leaders who spent instead of saved, who divided instead of united, who promised everything but prepared for nothing. 2000 hours. Closing. Venezuela's story is both a warning and a lesson. Natural resources alone do not guarantee prosperity. Without accountability, without planning, and without true democracy, wealth can vanish overnight. A century ago, Venezuela struck oil and dreamed of greatness. Today, it dreams simply of recovery.